Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
Welcome to the show. A lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Good to be with you on this Thursday. A couple of guests hanging out with us on the program. Sam Yarnell's always here. He sits in a room, and when a camera goes on, he's just ready. That's how we do it. Jen Mueller will be here. Seahawks radio sideline reporter. Been with the team a long time. Get her thoughts on the big game coming up on Sunday, Super Bowl 60, between the Seahawks and New England Patriots out there in Santa Clara. So we'll get some thoughts with her. Lots to talk about surrounding that team. Also, Dennis Bernstein, the fourthperiod.com, SiriusXM NHL Radio, joins us every Thursday on the show. Get some thoughts with him on the big trade involving the New York Rangers yesterday, sending Artemi Panarin to the Kings. Some people think they got fleeced. I'll be interested to see if he feels the same way. All of that to get to, plus odds and ends, but we start things out as we always do with the big story. And the big story today is the NBA trade deadline, which is, and frankly, it's basketball. This entire week feels like it's been dominated by basketball talk, because usually trade deadlines, there's build-up and we'll talk about it, and then you get to that week of the trade deadline and everything seems to happen on the last day. Well, it feels like it's a little bit different this time around, where everything has taken place really over the last couple of days, and I don't know that there's necessarily a lot of big moves that are going to happen here on Thursday. Now look, by the time you see this show, there may have been some more things that have happened beyond what we discuss here, but it seems like the bulk of the activity was the last 2 days. The only chip potentially left to fall is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and whether or not he does wind up being traded, or if the team opts to wait until the offseason, which is going to create a hella awkward situation over the final couple of months of the regular season, few months of the regular season, where you're going to have a team that doesn't want Giannis to play, a Giannis that probably wants to play, and this sort of purgatory that the Bucks are going to be left in if they don't get a deal done on Thursday. But there's really not many teams left to deal with. Again, this is a tough, square peg round hole sort of thing to fit, because of the fact that he makes so much money and the involvement of multiple teams in a lot of instances to try and pull off these trades. They're not easy to do. Everybody just likes to think, hey, trade somebody. There's only a few teams, A, that would want them, B, that are going to, be able to put the assets together, and then you got to get other teams to work with you. Which team doesn't want to work with who? You just never know. The Miami Heat feel like the only team that are potentially left in the Giannis sweepstakes, and that's because the Golden State Warriors made a move. And don't worry, we're going to get to Anthony Davis, but I want to flush out this Giannis stuff. The Warriors made a move late on Wednesday night to go get Kristaps Porzingis from the Atlanta Hawks in exchange for Buddy Hield and Jonathan Kuminga. Curious, because if you wanted Antetokounmpo, you're basically signaling you're not going to be able to get him. Or are they? Because they still have draft assets. They also still have Draymond Green that they could potentially move from a salary standpoint to Milwaukee in that sort of deal to help offset what needs to be done. But it feels like this is the Warriors' big move at the trade deadline, is Kristaps Porzingis. And I have said this before, and I will continue to say it until I am red in the face. This organization is lost right now. They are completely lost. And I get some people are going to say, Porzingis, expiring contract, they'll be able to do some things in the offseason again. They'll have Jimmy Butler back at some point next year. Great. We've seen what this organization is at this point. We've seen where this franchise is. And again, you talk about the Bucks and purgatory potentially with Giannis Antetokounmpo having to remain there through the end of the year when everybody knows they're going to get rid of him in the offseason. The Warriors feel like they've been in that purgatory that sort of mid-team for the last few years now, which is why I've screamed that they should blow the thing up. They're not going to do that, it appears, because they are committed to trying to do everything they can to build a winner around Steph Curry. All right, talk about what happened with Anthony Davis, because this was the big move and shocker of yesterday. And I know Sam Yarnell will have a lot to say about it coming up in a few minutes here, but the Washington Wizards really, shoving their chips in the middle of the table. And it feels like an all-in move in some regards. Not for this year. We know that the Wizards aren't trying to win anything this year. But it feels like in the process of rebuilding, it feels like this is the type of move that's a year too early. That if Anthony Davis were a little healthier, if this were a couple of years ago, Anthony Davis, you make this sort of move as, the centerpiece with Trae Young and, Alex Sarr and all of that's great. But it feels like it might be a year too soon for them to be making this kind of play for Anthony Davis. Not to mention the fact Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. Every time you turn around, Anthony Davis is getting hurt. He falls, you literally need to wrap him in bubble wrap because he's that injury prone. And and they've done a lot of nice things this year, and acquiring draft picks and moving assets and turning one guy into another. All of that's great. But if you make the centerpiece of your franchise the wrong guy, that one guy, everything that you've worked to do up until that point can all be for naught. And I fear in doing that around a 32-year-old Anthony Davis, an injury-prone Anthony Davis, they may have decided to shove all their chips into the table with the wrong hand, to use a poker analogy. That's kind of the sense I get. Chris Paul on the move to Toronto. He may never play a game there. He may never play a game again. We'll have to see what winds up happening there. Jared McCain was on the move. I thought that was a fantastic move by both the Thunder and the Sixers. The Sixers get tons of draft picks. The Thunder get McCain, who at the start of last year was playing so well, some people thought he could be a Rookie of the Year candidate. And now you get him for a bunch of draft picks, which the Thunder have plenty of anyway, so I don't think it matters to them too much to part ways with some of those draft picks. And with the injury to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously a need for them right now at that position. So they go and get Jared McCain, who's going to get an opportunity to get some playing time right now with SGA out until at least after the All-Star break, when they'll reevaluate him for this core injury that he's dealing with. We'll do more on the NBA trade deadline coming up in a couple of minutes. Sam Yarnell will be here. Make sure to keep an eye on SportsWrap Shorts on our YouTube channel. The SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. We'll have the latest there as well. We're coming back. We welcome you back. Good to have you with us on this Thursday edition of the show. It's Thursday already? I don't know where the week goes sometimes. He's basking in the afterglow of Anthony Davis's trade to the Washington Wizards, is Sam Yarnell. The process is in place for the Washington Wizards. So Anthony Davis, Sam Yarnell, I will cede the floor to you because I know you're obviously the first person I thought of when we saw this deal go down yesterday. Lots of trade deadline stuff going on. Keep in mind, depending on when you're watching this, there's going to be a whole bunch more that happens between now and the time this show airs. By the time, affiliates put it on. So keep that all in mind up until the, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. deadline, I believe it is. 3 p.m. Eastern deadline, something like that.
Feels like they change it every year.
Yeah.
It's 4 p.m. one year, it's 6 p.m. the next year,
maybe
it's 3
it's 6
p.m. this year. It makes no sense. Congratulations, Ayo Dosunmu. Enjoy your time in Minnesota, my friend. The Bulls selling house. My goodness, we'll get to that. But you're right, Jason. It's a great day in Washington, D.C. Yesterday, I went as far to say as the best day that Wizards fans have had in, maybe the last 15 years. It is a great time to be a Washington Wizards fan. This is an organization that has very clearly put themselves on the right track to being a competitive winning organization, I should say. I love this move for the Washington Wizards. You bring in an experienced vet in Anthony Davis who's going to help you by not playing the rest of this season and helping you get a better pick in this upcoming draft. Add him into that starting lineup next year, that upcoming top 5 pick, I should say. This is a masterclass by Will Dawkins, and I think when we have these new kind of GMs that really take the league by storm, as Will Dawkins is proving to do, you look at what their ingenuity is, right? Every GM has this very unique thing, right? You saw with Sam Presti in Oklahoma City, it was constantly the second round picks. It was billions of second round picks. It felt like that he eventually turned into first round picks, that he eventually turned into talent that built that team. Will Dawkins is taking a very different approach and maximizing the value and understanding the value of expiring contracts. He's done it twice this season with CJ McCollum, who he went out and traded for on an expiring deal and then traded to Atlanta for Trae Young, and now Chris Middleton, who he went out and traded for Kyle Kuzma at the top of Kyle Kuzma's value last year, and now he's flipping Chris Middleton for Anthony Davis. It is a masterclass from Will Dawkins, and the new era, Jason, we're seeing in the National Basketball Association is the value of expiring contracts.
Yes, yeah, and we'll get into that, especially when it comes to the Warriors here and what they're doing with Kristaps Porzingis. Hold on. Anthony Davis just tore a pinky nail while, he got hurt again. Sorry. He's going to miss another couple of games. So, I like the move. The only issue I have, and some people have argued this, is that they're sort of pulling the cake out of the oven a little too soon. That this is like the big piece of this rebuild and what they're doing in Washington, and maybe it's a step too soon is some of what I heard. React to that real quick.
I think that it's a little bit too far-sighted to see that what Washington is building around is the young pieces they have in place. The Alex Sars, the Kaishan Georges, the soon-to-be Darren Peterson or AJ Dabonsas of the world. What they're going to need when they're competitive is 40 to maybe 45 good games out of Trae Young and Anthony Davis, and that's what those guys bring you at this point in their careers.
The Warriors go out and get Kristaps Porzingis, which would point to the fact that they're probably not getting Giannis Antetokounmpo, although some people are saying pump the brakes on that. It's still possible they could go and get Giannis Antetokounmpo. When you look at what they parted ways with in order to get Kristaps Porzingis, it doesn't exactly leave the cupboard bare if you're talking about a guy like Draymond Green who could be involved in that deal. They still have draft picks. Take that as it may. To me, it just reeks of an organization that is desperate to stay relevant, to stay in the mix, to at least make the playoffs, to justify these crazy ticket prices out there at Chase Center, to make Stephen Curry feel like he's still important, that they're still trying to win with him. It all reeks of that for me. I don't like this move by the Warriors. I keep saying it. Just tear the damn Band-Aid off. They refuse to do it. Good luck. And Kristaps Porzingis is going to miss a couple games. I mean, we're trading for guys that aren't going to play.
I was confused by the move also. It does reek
expiring
slightly
contract,
of desperation.
Though. The expiring contract does play into it as well.
But here's the thing, this is the thing, Jason. This is the Kristaps Porzingis trade feels just like another Steve Kerr running a 13-man rotation, right? Or just another, when we get Draymond Green back from this suspension, right? It's always something for the Warriors, and it feels like for the last, I just realized it's been legitimately 6 years since they were really 5 years since they were really actually competitive. I don't think that anything's going to work. It's starting to feel like insanity in Golden State.
Yeah. Bulls making tons of deals. You alluded to it. Clearly in teardown mode here.
Yeah, I thought they were stockpiling for Giannis. Turns out they're just going for a top 5 overall pick. I mean, they're tearing it down left and right. They're selling off guys who are getting bought out by the teams they're selling them off to. It is not a great time to be a Chicago basketball fan.
Yeah, I like Kobe White. It's too bad well, I mean, I guess he gets to go to Charlotte, and that team at least has a chance to be a play-in team, and for fans in Charlotte, you'd sign up for that right now. Chris Paul lands with the Raptors in a 3-team trade, but it sounds like it's not his final destination in what is supposed to be his final season. Does he wind up playing this year is still what I'm wondering.
It's starting to feel like no. And I didn't think that until the news came down that the Raptors are going to buy him out and just let him walk. I don't know if anyone's going to want Chris Paul. Like, honestly, this is crazy. And I know that their entire roster is guards, but the Hornets, like maybe the Hornets, the Pelicans wouldn't make sense because when he was in New Orleans, they were the New Orleans Hornets, and that franchise moved to, I think he should go to Charlotte, end his career there. He doesn't have to play a lot. It can be a nice little end to his career. I think Chris Paul should sign with the Hornets.
By the way, kudos to the Philadelphia 76ers. They flipped Jared McCain for a whole bunch of draft picks from the Thunder, and frankly, you know, it's a great pickup for the Thunder considering what they have going on right now with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's injury and being out until at least after the All-Star break. That's a great move, really, for both teams.
If you're watching this and Giannis is on the Sixers, I'm not surprised.
I like that. And if he's not, we'll just edit it out of the show for future use. We're coming back. Jen Mueller covers the Seahawks next. So glad to be with you on this Thursday edition of the show. It's Super Bowl week, and I am thrilled to be joined by our good friend, the one and only Jen Mueller. Terrific work as the Seahawks sideline analyst, reporter on their radio broadcasts throughout the season. She's been with them for a while now and hangs out with us on this Thursday edition of SportsWrap. And a busy Super Bowl week. Man, who thought when this season started we'd be talking about this team in the Super Bowl, Jen? Pretty amazing.
I know. I am thrilled to be talking to you about the Seahawks in the Super Bowl this week. Always thrilled to have the conversation with you guys. But, you know, I know what the number said. I really do. I understand the odds makers. I don't understand why so many people looked at the Seahawks and picked them to not even finish, right, in the upper echelon of the NFL. And I guess that's partly because you don't really know what's happening on a rebuilding or a building team, but it was really evident. If you looked at the way Seattle finished last season, especially on defense, it was really evident that this team was building towards something special. And in training camp, you could see the pieces all coming together. Now, admittedly, it took a little bit for the offense to kind of catch up with a new offensive coordinator, but I think for a lot of us in the building, while you could not have predicted Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, I think there was a general feeling that the Seahawks were being overlooked by a lot of people who just weren't standing at practice every day.
Jen, I gotta ask: is there a concern about overconfidence here? Because everybody and their mother, including me, is picking the Seahawks to win this game, and I don't even think it's going to be particularly close. I think it's a 10 or 11 point game, and I know you're probably going to cringe when you hear that because you're like, no, don't put the jinx on us.
I don't want to hear that.
But that's how everybody feels. Looking at this matchup, look at where the Patriots have come from this year. It's a wonderful story out of the AFC East. Look at where the Seahawks have come from out of one of the best divisions in football and doing what they did.
Yeah.
How does, in being around this team and being around practices this week, what's the sense, if anything, feeling a little different in just the confidence of this team and maybe being overconfident?
No, I think I'm more worried about those numbers personally because that gives me anxiety. But these guys, they haven't shown any change in their demeanor. They are loose and focused. That's kind of their phrase that they have used all year long. I am sure somebody has talked to them about like a family member or friend, somebody has said, oh man, you guys are favored. And they are not acting like they know what's going on outside of this hotel or outside of the practice field. In fact, a couple of them, Jaron Reed said the other night, he goes, it really doesn't even feel like we're in the Super Bowl. It just feels like another week at work. And regardless of the outcome, and I thought this was really cool. And he goes, regardless of the outcome, we're going to be sad because it's the last time we get to be on the field together. And he was like, wow. We obviously want the win, but when you talk about the connectedness of this team and the brotherhood, he was more worried about like, this is the last week that I get to spend with this particular group of guys. So I don't see them being overconfident. I don't feel that when I'm encountering them in the building. I think they're pretty dialed in.
Jen, an incredibly important part of this team is rookie nickelback Nick Eamon-Worry. I know the practice kind of situation with Super Bowl is weird and they're not letting as many members of the media behind all the closed practices and stuff, but we get these pool reports and then the news obviously comes out Wednesday night that Eamon-Worry has suffered this apparent ankle injury in practice throughout the week. How much of a piece is the Defensive Rookie of the Year finalist to what the Seahawks are planning on doing in the Super Bowl, and how big of a loss could it potentially be for that unit as a whole? Yeah,
he is a big piece, and you are right. They do not let us into practice. There's one pool reporter. I am not that pool reporter, so I did not see what happened. I did not see how any of that went down. So until we actually get Friday's practice report, I won't even speculate on what that means if he's not there. What I will say is, because of his very unique skill set and his ability to play at all three levels, they don't have to change personnel in the field. And it is one of the reasons they can stop the run with a light box. They're not worried about, in addition to the fact you got some really good defensive tackles up front, but because he can play so well at so many different positions, it really does give them an edge in substitutions and in not showing their hand, in the way that they blitz, like I said, in the way that they stop the run. And Mike Macdonald has said that a couple of times this year. And we saw what happened when he only played 4 games in the opener. And then it's not that you don't have talent behind him, you just don't have that exact set of talent. So that is one of the things that we are going to be monitoring heading into game day. Look, I'm just going to say it would take an act of God to keep any of these guys off the field on Sunday, right? Like, I don't think the training room is dealing with a lot of bumps and bruises this week. I think they're all vying to get their playing time on Sunday.
Give me a thought on Sam Darnold here, because that is where for a lot of people the conversation begins and ends. Yeah. The amazing story of where he started to where he is now, getting to this point, sort of a rags to riches story. But there are a lot of people that are wondering, if the clock strikes midnight and old Sam appears and the Patriots can get to him and bring out that rattled Sam Darnold. You've had a chance to watch him throughout the entire season. Give me the argument for why that won't happen.
Because he didn't do it against the Rams and the 49ers. And those are the teams that have his number, arguably. Those are the teams that have faced him now 3 times during the course of the year. The Rams game in particular, they needed Sam Darnold to be at his best, and he was, while not being 100% and dealing with that oblique. And I think the other part of that is you can see the growth in how he is processing the game throughout the year. There were plays in the Niners and the Rams game where he took a sack and he took a loss and he dirted the ball instead of trying to fit it into the gap. He wasn't trying to do too much. He was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing. And you look at some of those plays and you're like, well, you can't take a sack with that down and distance, right? Like you can't do that. Now you are out of, but you know what? It was a better choice to flip the field. And you can see these little moments. I think the thing people need to hear is from Mike Macdonald, where he says, people are allowed to get better. They are allowed to grow. They are allowed to develop. He is not the same quarterback that he was with the Jets. He's not the same quarterback that he was last year in Minnesota. And I think he's shown that in little ways. And all of his teammates say the same thing. It's not just one person. It is every single person in that locker room.
Yeah, and frankly, I feel like I hate to sound so optimistic for the Seahawks and their fans, but I don't even feel like he needs to play an A-plus game, and I still think they win this game. I really do. I don't think he needs to have some crazy stat line in order for them to win this game? Hold that thought. I want to get your thoughts on that. Jen Mueller's hanging out with us, does a great job on the Seahawks radio broadcast, sideline reporter, longtime friend of the program. We'll continue with her talking about the Super Bowl. We'll get more with her coming up. Don't go anywhere. One more segment with our friend Jen Mueller, who does a great job on the Seahawks radio broadcast, sideline reporter, longtime friend of the show, on Mariners broadcasts for years as well. By the way, I'm asking you this totally off the beaten path. Were you on radio broadcasts for the Seahawks for their last Super Bowl?
I was. This is my third Super Bowl, so I was. So
do you have a ring? Do you have a ring?
I do have a ring. I do.
Why aren't you showing that? I want to see the bling. Let's go.
I thought about it. I really did. I'm like, am I really going to take that around? Like, here, you know what? Honestly,
you never wear it. You never show it off. Nothing.
Oh, I do.
Oh, okay.
I'll take it out to speaking events. I'll take it out to various things. I honestly, it was in my bag, and I was like, I think this might be a jinx. I'm not sure. I don't know what to do. Like, I just kind of.
That was my first thought too.
Safely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you want to wear it, but you kind of just like to add to it and not jinx it. So
expand upon what you were saying with I know you wanted to respond to what I was asking about Sam Darnold before.
Yeah, and you were saying he doesn't need to play an A+ game. And, you know, with the way this defense plays and the way special teams can flip the field, yes. And you got to get the run game going. You have to get Ken Walker involved, whether it is straight runs, whether it is the screen game that they have played so well. And that defense for the Patriots, that's a good defense. They can stop the run. And so what you need to make sure you're doing is not forcing yourself into positions where you have to throw, right? Where you don't even allow yourself to be panicked, where you just stay on schedule. It could be a close game, but there's a difference between, man, I got to get this ball 50 yards down the field, and they're not respecting the run game, to I've got a lot of options. Let's just keep feeding everybody. Let's keep the Patriots off balance. You know, there is absolutely a world where that D line can dial up some pressure, and, you know, you could blow up some of those plays.
The concern, if any, with Kubiak and potentially, you know, him, it looks like winding up, you know, with the Raiders and sort of, you know, the vibe around that. You know, what happens if they lose him? A tendency to maybe be distracted. Do you get any of that sense in being around this team that that's an issue?
No, and if you've ever spent any time around Clint Kubiak, you know that he is like this. He is as even-keeled as they come. It is hard to get him to crack a smile during the week after they've won. Like, this guy is kind of low-key. How did Cooper Kupp describe him? Cooper Kupp said earlier in the year, he's kind of like a rancher from Texas. And you asked him to dial up a few plays, and it turns out he's a genius, and he's really into football, but he's kind of just got that, like, oh, shucks, you know, I'm just kind of this laid-back, low-key. For Kubiak, I don't see any sign of distraction. And it really hasn't been talked about. Like, even in the murmurs around the team, I am sure they have had internal conversations, but the players aren't talking about that. And Clint, when it is football time, he is dialed in. I cannot imagine him being distracted by that.
Jen, back to Sam Darnold for a second, because this is just a question that's kind of been eating away at me for, like, really since he had that career game 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago at this point. Obviously, he comes into Seattle this offseason on this, you know, 3-year deal with an opt-out after year 2, but he's proven a ton this season. Obviously took him to a Super Bowl. Does he get a longer-term contract? Is there a contract renegotiation that's expected to happen there between Darnold and the Seahawks this offseason to tie him up there for longer?
You know what? That is a great question. I have not heard rumblings about that, but everybody in the organization knows how valuable Sam Darnold is, right? And when you get a quarterback who can do what he does, and who has quite honestly seen so much football that he's not going to be faced if there's a change at offensive coordinator, I do think that there is value in locking him up. and, rewarding him for what he's done. I know that John Schneider operates in a very fair way. I know that John Schneider is in constant contact with these agents and making sure that everybody's on the same page. It wouldn't surprise me, not something that I have heard rumors about, but again, everybody just kind of feels like we're all funneled towards Sunday, and that's kind of what everybody's been talking about.
And I know, Jason, we were talking earlier about Darnold not necessarily having to play his best game and relying on the run game a little bit more. Obviously, this is a run game that's changed a little bit over the course of the last couple of weeks with the injury to Zach Charbonnet. A name that not a lot of people have talked about, and I've just kind of done a little bit of independent research into, Cam Akers. Is there a shot that he gets the football on Sunday?
Possibly. Yeah, we've seen him a little bit, not in extended roles. They ended up using George Halani out of Boise State as Walker's backup 2 weeks ago in the NFC Championship game. Cam is available. He's there. We've actually seen him as a returner a couple of times when Rashid Shaheed was hurt. I would imagine that he would be an option. We'll just kind of have to see how they want to use the roster slots there. It would be kind of a fun storyline, right? To get him involved. But I would still see, because Halani has been in this system a little bit longer and has been in that running back room a little longer, I would see Halani is getting the reps behind Ken Walker.
Real quick, in the final 30 seconds I have you. We saw the Mariners go on this magical run and what that did for the city. You live up there. You're a native of that area. Give me a sense of what it would mean for this team to win this Super Bowl and what it would mean for that city.
The city is it's buzzing from all of the sports success, and they're looking at the Kraken, who are, within the playoff, kind of bracket and picture right now. When we had a Super Bowl parade the last time, it was unbelievable. Just the view that I had while being on, our buses, it was unbelievable. It would bring people from across the state, and it is a fun, electric experience if Seattle can close it out.
Jen Mueller, you'll hear her on the radio broadcast for the Seahawks, working the sidelines. I always appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right, welcome back. Out of the football and into the hockey, we bring in our friend Dennis Bernstein. Does a great job at thefourthperiod.com, SiriusXM NHL Radio. He got to go and watch the Pirate Classic down there in Tampa Bay. Boy, was that amazing. We'll get to that in a second, but obviously the big news of the day, Artemi Panarin going over to the Kings from the Rangers. I was sampling people's reaction to this, Dennis, and the consensus I got from fans, and again, we take it with a grain of salt, but the consensus I got from fans was they felt like the Rangers didn't get enough back.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on Super Bowl week to talk hockey.
Absolutely. Are you kidding?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they got fleeced, but they got boxed in because the dance card got really small. You heard with respect to suitors for Panarin, like 7, 8 teams, but when it came boiled down to it, maybe 2 or 3. And there were probably 2 or 3 locations, like maybe Seattle or Carolina, where, Artemi wants to play in a big city. It's pretty obvious, right? Because if you could go to Seattle, if you go to Carolina, which is a better team than the LA Kings, and you want to win a cup, that's fine. It was underwhelming because Chris Drury got boxed in again. Like maybe he should have waited until the other trade deadline in March. But the return was Liam Greentree, who's arguably the Kings' best prospect, but he's not had a great season in the juniors. He had a really good season last year. He's kind of flattened out. A couple of conditional picks. You didn't get a first-round pick. You had to retain to send him there. The Kings and Kenny Holland did a great job here. I don't want to say they stole him because there's work to do. This does not make them a contender right away, Jason, but this is a great trade for the Kings. Great work by Ken Holland here in Los Angeles.
Real quick, does Drury survive all of this at the end of the year?
Yeah, because the owner likes him. Jim Dolan likes him, and it's as simple as that. Because if they chant your name in the building and you're still the manager, that tells you that ownership likes him. So it's simple as that. He will survive this.
Okay.
They were chanting "Fire Rick Tocchet" the other night in Philadelphia. Dennis, what is going on with the Flyers? Are those between him and Briere? Are those 2 guys who are going to survive the end of the season?
I think they will, Sam. And here's the weird thing: up until that point, the Flyers were overachieving. At times they're in the top 3 spot in the Metro, and nobody had them there because it's not a talent-laden team. The problem is it's not a talent-laden team. The one guy that does have talent, Rick Tocchet doesn't like. Now, I'll put this on Briere and Jones. They need to step in here and tell Tocchet to calm down because we need this guy. He's a very talented player, Mishkov, right? And maybe he's out of shape, but you don't do that publicly on some podcast at a Flowers Wise carnival. It's a wrong time, wrong place. I guess, Rick thinks he's Teflon, and I don't think he's Teflon, and certainly not in that city. Like, you better watch yourself. I think, and Rick should know better. He's played in that market. It's a big misstep by the coach. But I think that management needs to step in here and say that we need to settle this because you're going to get a situation like what happened in Vancouver with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson. Like, if you don't step in here, it's going to get worse. The team's going to get worse. They need him. He needs to step in and to settle this. Maybe he does need to be in better shape, but you don't say that publicly.
Elsewhere in the state of Pennsylvania, across the state, some non-NHL news yesterday. This crazy story with Gavin McKenna. He's being charged with felony assault. People who don't know, they're out there. Gavin McKenna was the consensus until this first overall selection in the upcoming NHL draft. Dennis, what was your reaction upon finding out this news about Gavin McKenna?
A bad decision by an 18-year-old, a kid who just turned 18, right? It's very disappointing. I can't say shocking because the kid, they got into a fight in a bar and broke somebody's jaw. I guess that was the story. You shouldn't have done it. You have to know who you are, and you have to know what's at risk when you raise your fist to someone in the bar who might be drunk or being a jerk towards you. So it was a poor decision by an 18-year-old. Can he overcome it? I guess. I mean, I don't think it's going to get to a point of where he's going to be charged with a felony and put in jail. I really don't. But it's a terrible look. And now, if you're the Vancouver Canucks and you get the first overall pick, do you pick this kid? But now there's a question about character, and people want to poo-poo that because it's all just about skating and speed and strength. It's about character as well, and now there's going to be questions about this player's character, which is unfortunate because he made a mistake at 18.
We hear about teams being sticklers for this stuff in other leagues. Does it translate the same way in the NHL?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You got 23 guys in the room. I think chemistry is very, very important. He doesn't fit in the room. Like, look at a guy like Evander Kane. Evander Kane's got a terrible reputation off the ice. He's earned it. Some teams. Here's the thing, Jason. If you have a strong enough leadership group in the room, like any sport, you can overcome a bad guy.
Draymond Green.
Talented.
Draymond Green. Great example.
Yep. Some teams can't. The younger teams can't. It's if you have a young team and you want to put that player in there, it's probably like Chicago. Probably wouldn't work. Not that they'll get the pick, but Chicago's too young of a team, and you don't want Bedard and this kid leading the charge. So I think if you have a veteran locker room that is strong, you could overcome this. So, but teams absolutely care about off ice, and I think they care about off ice more these days.
You were at the the Stadium Series game. Sorry, the Lightning and the Bruins. I mean, they're down 5-1. They're up 1-0 in 11 seconds. They're down 5-1. This crazy third period rally. You've been to a lot of these Stadium Series games. Was this the best one you'd seen?
No question. It was a great game, great setting. They leaned into the Gasparilla theme. The pregame entertainment was amazing. And every time they say people don't care, like they didn't care. Like the Four Nations was made up. Do you remember the championship game? I was on 7 outlets that day. Oh, nobody cares about the Stadium Series until they care. They do care. Jason, 45 outdoor games. They average over 50,000 fans a game. It's going to continue. If you're in Seattle and you didn't like that game, I get it. But the people in Tampa loved it. The people that came from Boston loved it. This is going to continue. And next year with Utah, those ownership group is, and with the Stadium Series at Jerry World, are you kidding? These are great games for the people that go. People don't get it. And now it's resonating on TV. Now, if you tune in next year, you're probably not going to get the same game. But when you hear 11 goals and you hear goalie fight, the casual fan wants to tune in. So they do resonate. These things do work. It's like the casual fan doesn't understand that they do work and they're going to continue.
Dennis Bernstein, thefourthperiod.com, Sirius XM NHL Radio. Appreciate you, my friend.
Always a pleasure, boys. Thanks for the time.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Thursday. Don't forget, tomorrow, our friend Robert Lital, founder of Black Sports Online, will be joining us from Santa Clara or San Francisco or wherever the hell they're doing all this Super Bowl stuff. Seems like they're doing it in San Francisco. So he'll join us tomorrow on the show. Why do you have a perplexed look on your face?
I'm just sitting here realizing, Jason, tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah.
And we've gone like the whole week and given out like no bets on the show. We're gonna have to like spend the whole show giving out bets tomorrow. Oh yeah. I have so many bets I have to give out to the people. I got a whole card already.
We will. We'll definitely get the whole card out there. Maybe we'll keep you for the entire show and just have you hang out with Robert and I for our segments too. It is a Super Bowl extravaganza tomorrow. We will have full coverage of it, obviously, on Monday as well with a recap. And then football is over for at least a few minutes. We'll be able to take a deep breath. I'm not gonna lie to you all. I'm gonna keep it a buck here. I'm ready for football to be over. I need a break on my weekends. I'm ready for Sam. I'm sorry. I am ready for football to be over.
No shot.
I need a break.
No shot. My friend, I have been in that position before. Trust me, I have had that thought cross my mind. And then I remember a very specific day. It was this past June 17th. I was sitting to myself thinking, man, I'd give just about anything to watch the Dolphins and Jets play a really crappy game right now.
Nope.
I will never wish away football. I will savor every waking moment of it we have. And once that game comes and goes on Sunday, I'll just cry. And as, who was it, Ty Cobb said all those years ago, I'll just sit and look out the window until April comes around and it's time for the NFL draft.
Nope. I'm ready for baseball. Let's go. I am ready for baseball, which we'll get to in just a moment because there is news out of Major League Baseball, a big signing for one AL Central team. But before we do, a couple of quick reminders. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. 45 minutes, beautiful audio. It works well as a podcast. Listen to it Monday through Friday. Also, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, the place for all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. We've got the TV show there, Monday through Friday version of the show, available for you right there. 45 minutes commercial free. It's great. Trust me, and it's available early every afternoon. You can see it there before you see it anywhere else. Also, Sports Wrap Shorts. News breaking. Today is the day to have Sports Wrap Shorts. With the NBA trade deadline, we are covering the top stories as they break, the big games every night as well. All of that in Sports Wrap Shorts. And without any further delay, it's time, Sam Yarnell. Time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. It should be all the upsets in college basketball last night because there were a zillion of them, including the Portland Pilots beating Gonzaga, which I was sitting here watching in the wee hours of the night or morning as it may be. But there is other stuff to get to. First of all, Framber Valdez is a Detroit Tiger? Not sure I saw that one coming, Sam. But it is Framber Valdez, signed by the Detroit Tigers. 3 years, $115 million for a 32-year-old lefty. I hope, for their sake, I hope he stays healthy because 32, 3, 115, a lot of money. Good luck to the Tigers. What does it mean for Tariq Skubal? People are getting mad at me because of the way I'm pronouncing his name. What does it mean for Skubal, Sam?
Three things. First of all, great job definitely getting it right the first time you had to intro the segment. You really killed it, and it was definitely the first time. We definitely didn't have to do it multiple times. Number two, on the college basketball thing, you're right. That was crazy. I think it was the biggest upset spread-wise in WCC history. Yeah. WCC conference play history last night. Absolutely incredible stuff on the hardwood. Shout out to the Portland Pilots. Third of all, Framber Valdez to the Tigers. The most interesting part of this deal to me was the timing of it. It comes out Wednesday afternoon, evening, night, depending on where you are throughout the country, after the Tigers have their arbitration hearing with Tariq Skubal. My belief in all that timing is the Tigers think that they won the arbitration hearing. They're not going to have to pay Skubal this much. They then went out and gave another left-handed pitcher $115 million, and they're going to try to compete throughout the remainder of Tariq Skubal's time in Detroit, however long that may be. That was kind of my idea behind the whole Framber Valdez signing. If not, it'll be a fine consolation prize if they don't end up with Skubal.
Yeah, and our buddy David Ardsma thinks they're going to still hang on to Skubal. He thinks they're going to use those arbitration years
I'm with him.
and be able to hang on to them. Trinidad Chambliss will apparently be in the NFL draft. His appeal to the NCAA denied. He wanted like a 7,400th year of eligibility, which a lot of people seem to get these days, but it won't be for Trinidad Chambliss. Hopefully we'll be seeing him in the NFL next year.
Yeah, I would think that we'll be seeing him at least in the NFL preseason next year, Jason. I'm trying to live on the air as we're doing the show, see if I can find the number. He is the fourth favorite right now to be the first overall pick. Obviously, that's skewed because Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first overall pick, but that gives you a pretty good idea. They think Trinidad Chambliss is the third best quarterback in this draft. That's incredible.
Meteoric rise, that is for sure. It's going to wrap it up for us on this Thursday. Thank you to Jen Mueller, especially during a busy Super Bowl week for her, Seahawks sideline reporter. And our man Dennis Bernstein, thefourthperiod.com and SiriusXM NHL Radio. A blown out Super Bowl preview show for you on Friday. For Sam Yarnell, I'm Jason Page. That's Sports Wrap. See ya.